My name is Brendan Robert Wayne McDonald. A little about myself. I was actually born and raised here. Right around the age of 7 and 8, moved out to Kenora, Ontario, so about 2 hours away from here. And I've been out there ever since. Really highly active, love fitness, love sports. That's always kind of been my direction, my dream, and currently just do that right now. So I've been doing CrossFit for about 4 or 5 years now. And there's an athlete that's actually from Kelowna, and he talked about floating and the benefits of floating and what he's seen in the mental side more than the physical side. Even though when I first floated, I saw a significant difference with the relief, the body being able to float, the gravity, the tension, that kind of stuff. But he kind of introduced it and got me curious in it. So because I lived out in Pembina last year, I tried to find a place that was the closest, and you guys were, which was awesome because you guys are extremely accommodating, and it's been an amazing experience since my first float. But that's where I kind of got the initial awareness and where it kind of, I got curious about it. So, and then I just read up on the benefits and decided also just to have my own opinion about it. So I just decided to just walk in the door. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you do, and I did. I loved it. It was a very cool experience, totally something different. I really didn't know what to expect, really. And I didn't want to also put that, opinion on there because I felt like it could also influence my first float. Prior to just saying, well, you might not like it, having that negative talk before even going into floating could influence the float itself, right? So I try to, on top of getting as much information as possible prior to it, I try not to let that dictate my opinion on it. And I think that's why my first float was very, very interesting on top, because I didn't let the opinions or the information dictate how I was gonna feel. It was very cool, my first float. It took me about 45 minutes to actually, relax and release and kind of have the tension through my neck and through my back and certain areas I've never experienced before. And then also the mental side on top of it, where I kind of it just really detoured me somewhere to where I could really mentally focus and not have the influence of outside noise influence it. So it was a very, very cool experience. But like I said, I didn't try to give an opinion before actually experiencing it. And I try not to with a lot of things. And I feel like it's hard sometimes that we can have that judgmental, side to things, to trying something new. And I try to limit that because I think it's super important for you to experience something before actually, experiencing it. Since last year, recovery has been a goal of mine. And this, not only just the physical recovery, but also mentally. And I find that hour and a half of floating really helps, help me focus not only just, with my competitive side of CrossFit, but also with life too. February, March, I was once a week because I was competing. I was doing, they call it the CrossFit Open, and it's kind of my important part of the season. And we do workouts once a week for 5 weeks. And I took every week prior to actually doing my workouts that I had to do. And I would go into a float tank to visualize, also to just give myself some body and relief by just going into the tank for an hour and a half. To really kind of just hone in what I need to do, strategizing, give my body also the release that it's been, because those 5 weeks are extremely stressful, I find. By the end of it, you're either extremely exhausted mentally than you are more physically. because you're constantly, thinking of ways that it could have gone better, or, always critiquing things. So it was nice to go back into the tank to have that release and that stress-free environment, because, by checking the leaderboard, for instance, or what this person did rather than this person, and there's just so much information bouncing around, I found that those 5 weeks was super vital and important for me to be able to go into the tank so that I can forget about the week before and move on from there. So, and it helped me really stay present and not focus on, hey, what's going to happen the week after that, or what happened before that. I feel like every time it's a different experience, because as an individual, I'm trying to grow, change consistently. So every time I'm going back into the tank, it's the same. It's a different experience that I go through. And it's mostly trying to be present in that tank and understanding whatever I'm going through in that time. So it could be different. I could be extremely stressful one time, and one time I'm just going in to just, relax, or it could be something like that, more of on a lifestyle style, that I'm coming in to kind of just like, de-stress, think about things that, are maybe influencing my life, my training, all those other things, other aspects. So, yeah, so I think that's what's, I think, really cool about floating, is that you can't always be like, this is how it is, whatever experience you had, because the next experience could be completely different, right? Depending on what's influencing you on a day-to-day, or has influenced you for a week, depending on when you're going in, right? So I think that's why I look forward to the next float more than I do drawing on the past floats, because it's always a new experience every single time. I feel like with the high population, like anxiety and depression, and this almost grasp on fear at the same time. I don't know why I'm drawing to that, but I was thinking about something very relative on actually the drive here from Kenora. And I'm wondering if that could be a possibility towards why people are maybe drawn to being in the tank, to maybe trying to, as opposed to pushing those feelings away, which I feel like a lot of us do when it comes to, when we're feeling really anxious or fearful or scared, or whatever those, I guess you could call them, negative emotions or feelings are. And now I think people are trying to, as opposed to, stuff them away. Especially, I would draw that back from an individual I used to be, as someone that would always hide or cover up those emotions or feelings. And now I've kind of felt a way that, they're there for a reason, as opposed to avoiding them and completely not acknowledging them, actually being able to, improve them, or why you're feeling like that, right? So I think people are learning to, maybe, as opposed to pushing them away and stuffing them away, is acknowledging them. And I feel like floating, because you're put into a situation where you maybe have the opportunity to think about those things and address those things, and why you're feeling like that, or why that caused that, whatever feeling you had. I feel like that may be why people are drawn to it a little more than, yeah. So, yeah, I think there's just a higher demand to as opposed to just the physical side of just like, it's funny, because I'm a coach as well, and I deal with people on a daily basis, and understanding most of the people that are coming into the gym, it's not the physical side they struggle with. It's more the mental side, them convincing themselves that, they can do something, or having the confidence to just try something new. It's actually pretty interesting, and I feel like, because they're starting to understand that, there's becoming more relationships towards experiencing these new environments that put us into almost like, I don't want to say a captive situation, but a situation where we're very isolated and trying to understand who we are, right? So, and I think, yeah, floating really provided that. And I think that's maybe why people are drawn to it. And I also want to say their first experience is usually something they've never experienced before. So that's kind of an attractive thing at the same time, right? So, but yeah, I think it's a strong relation towards that mental, figuring out those mental things that we battle with, whether it be from, you know, childhood experiences to an incident with a car crash. Could be everything, right? So it's more trying to get through those negative loops that we've experienced through our lives. And I think people are learning to address those things and tackle those things as opposed to, yeah, detouring them. I would just say since I've started floating, I've become more vulnerable to, especially being someone that was raised around sports and the physical side of push through it, get through it, like be strong. Float has made me understand more of the mental side of my life as opposed to just, yeah, getting through things or pushing through things, which I also say as a male, we are kind of brought up in an environment that's the way it should be, right? Hide your emotions, be tough, you know. So being raised around that and then being able to, you know, have something that helps you as opposed to, you know, bundle things up and hide things, being able to actually address them and feel them as opposed to neglecting them. Just walk in the door. Super simple. If you're curious, then check it out. That's it.